And we're live. Technically, we already went live, and I forgot to hit the countdown, but we're here. My brother should be joining us shortly, so that will be good. And we're talking, answering questions, talking Dynasty football as always. Appreciate all of you. And yeah, we're here talking Dynasty football earlier in the day, of course. So if you have questions, make sure to leave them in the chat. It doesn't have to be Dynasty related, can be redraft if that's fine too. Obviously, answer those. Yeah, any specific questions we're getting down to. Danny, happy Friday. Happy Friday to you. Hopefully you have a good one. Friday the 14th. We almost had a Friday the 13th, but it's the 14th instead. And yeah, we're here. I can't believe it's already November, middle of November. Thanksgiving is in just a couple of weeks, less than 2 weeks now. And then it's Christmas time, man. It's amazing how time flies, man. It really does. Time flies. So, but yeah, we're here. The point of today's stream is to mostly talk Dynasty. A little bit harder when my brother's not here. He's running a little bit late, but he should be here relatively soon, hopefully. And but yeah, we're just kind of, like to do these Dynasty streams. So if you guys have any Dynasty questions, leave them in the chat there. I will be happy to answer them. And let me just make sure we are set up here. And yeah, again, if you have non-Dynasty related questions, of course you can ask those as well. It doesn't have to be just Dynasty. So just making sure we're all kind of set up here. Make sure to hit that like button for us, guys. Much appreciated. And looks like we are all good there. Okay. So yeah, I believe on the if you're on the mobile stream, you do have to subscribe and be subscribed for 5 minutes in order to make a comment, just in case you're wondering why you can't subscribe. So if you're or you can't make a comment, just hit the subscribe button, wait 5 minutes, refresh. You should be able to leave a comment, just to leave a little bit of barrier. I think when we get when we do that mobile stream, we get a little bit more, not spammers, but just, people coming across it and stuff like that. But yeah, we're here. We're talking Dynasty football. A lot has changed, obviously, since the beginning of the year. We did this a couple weeks ago. We talked a lot about the rookies, kind of our thoughts about the rookies and stuff like that. Kind of want to focus a little bit more. We can still talk rookies, but maybe focus a little bit more on non-rookies and maybe some of the veterans that have risen and fallen up until this point. Just kind of looking and basing all of this off of Keep Trade Cut here, and just looking at some of the players that have risen, especially in that kind of 20 to 30 grouping of players here. So I can share this for you here, and just kind of looking at specifically this group of players here: T. Higgins, Jalen Waddle, Olave, Devonta Smith, all kind of rising up the ranks, which I think is quite interesting to see there. All kind of talented players that we knew had a lot of talent, but at times had been disappointing in their career. T. Higgins a little bit dependent on Joe Burrow, but now that he has Flacco, he's pretty good. Jalen Waddle, injury seasons, being the second fiddle. Chris Olave kind of, hindered by his quarterback and stuff like that. But we're kind of seeing these guys kind of rise to the occasion. It kind of makes me think about maybe some other potential players that, we're a couple years into their career, and maybe they're not quite where we want them to be at, where we want them to be at here at this point. Let me zoom in a little bit here so you can see. In particular, guys like Marvin Harrison, Zay Flowers and stuff like that, and just kind of to be patient with those players if possible. So you see Michael Pittman there rising up a little bit, which is interesting to see as well. Travis Hunter, where's he at? Wide receiver 23 here. kind of talked about it on the stream last night. I know I told you we weren't, trying to talk too much about rookies, but Travis Hunter is going to be a very, very interesting player for Dynasty and to evaluate for Dynasty. So we've seen, kind of him be a top 15 guy. He dipped down to more of a top 30 guy. He had his big game in Jacksonville, then he gets hurt, and now he's going to fall probably in this mid 20s to early 30 range of player. My biggest concern with someone like a Travis Hunter is simply the fact that the language and conversation around him is kind of already pivoting from him being a two-way player, right? It's already kind of pivoting away from that. When they came out and the GM was talking about him, he was talking about him like he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Liam Cohen said they were going to play him 80% of the snaps on both sides of the ball. And I want to say the most he ever played on both sides of the ball was like around 60%. I'm going to double check that here. So his most on offense that he played in a game was 87%. His most in on both sides of the ball in a single game was 59.2 and 62.3 on defense. So he had a couple weeks there where he was like basically playing over 50% of the snaps on both sides of the ball. And that's it. Then they kind of moved him more towards a wide receiver. My biggest concern with him is I don't think it's settled that like, okay, it doesn't really matter if he doesn't play both ways, if he ends up playing wide receiver. But what are we going to do if he doesn't end up really playing wide receiver and he ends up being a cornerback? And that's kind of like an issue here with Travis Hunter. So I'm kind of on the side of like, I obviously don't want to sell low on Travis Hunter. But I kind of want to have him. I kind of want to have like, if I can kind of cash out on him and get similar value to what I spent on him, or maybe slightly less, I might be okay doing it. And that's just me covering my bases a little bit. Like, because there's a chance that it comes out and Travis Hunter is just playing more cornerback than anything. So I think that's something to consider when it comes to Mr. Travis Hunter here. Just looking at some other ones here, we see Troy Franklin climbing up the list a little bit. Luther Burden, I think, is I would go out and try and get Luther Burden right now if I could. He hasn't really fallen. As you see here, like basically since the season, I think he had a big game here late in September, and that's kind of why he's up here, I guess. But he's kind of on par of where he was when he was drafted in the offseason. But I would still potentially go out and buy low on a guy like Luther Burden. I think he could be someone. He could potentially be someone to go out and get. Like I think we could see a stretch here. So we have 7 weeks left in the NFL season. Yeah, 17. No, 7 weeks. Right? 7 weeks left, I believe. If I'm doing math right, or counting right, I guess you should say. I think we could see like a legitimate stretch of games here from Luther Burden where he's going to look really, really good, right? Where he's going to look really good. So I would explore and try to get trades, especially if I'm rebuilding, and especially if Luther Burden, the trades I love to do the most on both sides of the coin here. One of them is if I'm a competing team and I have some of these rookies on my team that aren't really helping me right now win, I like to potentially trade them away for pieces that are producing now to rebuilding teams, and vice versa. If I'm that rebuilding team and I have players who are producing, but my team's not competing, trade those players, try to get someone from a team that's competing, try to get a young player who's not really helping that competing team at all and give them a piece that can help them. Those are the trades that I like to do the most. And Luther Burden, I think, fits perfectly into that category. I really want to try and go out and get Luther Burden a little bit here. I think we're going to potentially see an expanded role. Olamide Zaccheaus. I think, I understand why Zaccheaus is kind of like put Luther Burden kind of on the bench a little bit. But at the same time, like at some point, you got to be like, Luther Burden can do things that not many people can do on this roster. and potentially to go out and start him more. I hope that's my goal there. I think this is like there's a very good chance. There's a very, very good chance that this is the lowest Luther Burden's going to be for a long while. A very good chance, in my opinion. So that's why I'm kind of on board with going out and getting him. Yeah. Just kind of scrolling through the list here. I mean, you see Alec Pierce rising up quite a lot. He's just a good player. Looking at the running backs and what's changed, like in the running back landscape here a little bit. We got some players here. Sorry, guys, 1 second. 1 second here. Let me undo something real quick. Stay with me. Stay with me here. All right, there we go. Looking at the running back landscape a little bit here, not much has changed at the top except for Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor rising up to RB3. Let's see, I think he was right around 7 or 8 to kind of start the year. I think lesson learned from JT a little bit is, let's see, right before the season basically started, he was RB10. Now he's up to RB3. I think kind of lesson learned on JT and just in Dynasty in general is like when you have these players that we've seen elite production from before, and they're still relatively young, and they've produced since their kind of elite game, but maybe not quite, or their elite season, but maybe not quite as much as like we expected, like to go out and potentially buy low on those guys. Like Jonathan Taylor back in 2021 had one of the best pure rushing seasons we've ever seen. Not many running backs rush for over 1,800 yards, and Jonathan Taylor did that back in 2021. And then he kind of had some holdout injury-plagued seasons. 2024, he was actually really good. I think he was just kind of severely overlooked. Now, I know we were concerned about the offense and all of that, but I do think like we kind of overlooked how good Jonathan Taylor actually was in 2024. He had over 1,500 total yards and 12 touchdowns in 14 games. And he was on a team whose like quarterback couldn't really move the ball, right? So, and then obviously we're seeing an absolute elite season from JT to this point. I mean, geez, what is he on pace for right now? He is on pace for currently 1,936 rushing yards, 50 catches, 450 receiving yards, and he's on pace for almost 29 total touchdowns, which is insane. Danny says he's rebuilding and have my opponents first. Should I focus on losing and improving my own first, or win and improve my opponents first? First is assigned by worst seeding and not max points for. So you're saying you're kind of playing that team this week, Danny? Like the team that you have there first for? Here's what I'll say. There's a lot of discussion when it comes to like tanking in Dynasty. I know you said you don't do max points for. I do like leagues that do max points for because there really is no tanking. The only way to really tank is to like trade away your good players and get points off the board. I would probably I tend to just start my best lineup no matter what. And now I understand like tanking and in the situation of like, hey, there's no rule against it. If there's no rule against it, and like, that you can start a shitty lineup and tank and not start your best players and no one's going to say anything. Like, I don't necessarily fault you for doing that because you're doing what's best for your team. That's a whole nother discussion whether that should be allowed or not, but that's not really on you. If your league allows it, then you should kind of go forward with it, right? I think what I would do is try to beat that player to knock down, his first, to make his first earlier, just because like this is the only week that you can really control him and what he's going to do, right? So like you can beat him, and then the next 3 weeks you can go to just back to losing, right, and taking your own pick a little bit. So I would take advantage of like, hey, I can kind of make it. This is the only time I'm going to play him the rest of the season. I can make a difference here in his standing, so you might as well take advantage of that now. Yeah, that's what I would do there. But yeah, the whole tanking conversation's a quite an interesting one for sure. Um, just kind of looking down, through the again through the running back rankings, we're seeing Travion move up. I assume this is going to move up even more. He could kind of enter kind of a right where Judkins and Hampton are at this point, right? I don't see why not really. Kyron Williams, always underrated in my opinion. Like he's going to be a buy low because you're going to see Kyron Williams. Like, I mean, just look at Kyron Williams here. Now I know he's falling more because, he's falling more because other people are rising rather than him falling. But at the same time, like it's kind of crazy to see Kyron Williams there, who's 25. I think he just, didn't he just get a contract from the Rams, right? So we're talking about a contract with the Rams that it's a 3-year contract. Like he's on this Rams team for the next 2 years. This offense is absolutely insane. I know Blake Corum's playing a little bit more, but it doesn't really matter too much. And Kyron Williams is having a great year. He's RB9 on the season. He's RB9 on the season, RB10 in points per game, and he's just been so consistent. He's been so damn consistent since 2023. 2023 in points per game, he was the RB2. In 2024, in points per game, he was the RB10. 2025 points per game, RB10. So like just consistently a top running back. So and I think we're going to kind of continue to see him fall a little bit as we get rookies into the mix a little bit. People aren't as excited about Kyron in general and stuff like that. So I think we're going to start seeing Kyron fall a little bit. He's going to be a guy that I'm targeting. Rico Dowdle, man, all the way up 33 spots. That's kind of crazy there. Jalen Warren moving up. Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is going to be an interesting one to talk about here. He's 25 years old. And he's a young 25. He just turned 25, right? He's 25 years old here. He's on his last year of his contract, right? So he's going to be a free agent. I could really, really see Kenneth Walker having a kind of second contract type of career here. I really, really could see that. I don't think the Seahawks, I don't see why they would go out and pay him a bunch of money. Like they're kind of showing you what they think about him right now, right? Like they're not really using him too much. It's frustrating. It's making Charbonnet a little bit useless. It's making Kenneth Walker useless. I think Walker's the better running back, but he's going to be a guy that I'm definitely going to be targeting in the offseason to try and add into onto my team. Now, it's going to obviously depend on where he falls. Like right now, it's kind of saying, again, this is keep trade cut. It's not a perfect tool, but it's kind of saying like he's a late 4th round pick in startup, and he's still worth a 1st round pick potentially. I don't see that happening. I don't see anyone trading a 1st round pick for Kenneth Walker. I think we're going to continue to see Kenneth Walker fall down this board a little bit. Probably he's going to settle in, I would assume, right in this mid-20s area, unless he goes off. Like, let's just assume he does kind of what he's been doing all year long. He's probably going to settle in right in this mid-20s area, and he's probably just going to continue to fall until free agency. And so, like, he's a guy that I'm going to be targeting in the offseason, potentially before free agency, before he signs somewhere, because I do think he could have kind of a second contract type of career. I hope, at least. I think Kenneth Walker is just a good player. Guys to sell high on, man. Like Kyle Monungai really stands out to me as someone to stand or to sell high on. Really, really stands out to me. He's all the way up to RB26. I understand people are excited about him and the Bears and their offense and all of that, but we have to be realistic with ourselves. Like, I think this running back room, like this team is not complete. Ben Johnson and what he wants to do with this team is not complete, right? They're still putting the pieces in place here. The offensive line, I still think they're going to add to this running back room. I don't know if these are the running backs that they really want on this team. I mean, Kyle Monangai was drafted by Ben Johnson and all of that, but he was a 7th-round pick, right? Like we have to keep that in mind. So Monangai feels like a kind of a sell high for me. Just up there at the RB, as a top 25 RB. I don't know if other people feel that way a little bit, but I do feel like he's kind of a sell high at this point. That's just my personal opinion there. We're going to see, damn, you can even make the case for like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Like, look how fast, look how easy it is. You rise and then you fall, right? Like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt got to a top 24 guy and he's falling right into the 30s. It's like that could easily happen with a guy like Kyle Monangai, right? Kamani Vidal is another one, like as a potential sell high here. That's something to kind of keep in consideration there as well. One more second here. One more second, guys. Okay, just making sure I had that setting right there. What's up, Marvin? See you're on the good old phone there. Just talking some Dynasty here, Marvin. I know you're a big Dynasty guy. Just kind of looking at Keep Trade Cut. What's happening in the world of Dynasty? Who's rising? Who's falling? You see a chunk of guys here falling. Chuba Hubbard, Jordan Mason, Alvin Kamara, obviously falling. Kamara's an interesting one. Like, could Kamara go to a team? Like, obviously, like Kamara didn't want to be traded, and maybe he just doesn't care. Like, he doesn't care about going or winning a championship or whatever. But like, he's happy where he's at and stuff. Like, but he feels like a player. Like, could he go to a team and still produce? And have a resurgence 31-year-old season? Probably not, but there's every single season in the offseason, guys, just watch these players kind of like fall. Yeah. Just watch these players rise and fall. A lot of the veterans are going to fall. I always talk about this, like when it came to like Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry fell. Like he was in like the RB 40s at one point before last season. These veterans fall, man, and there's always good veteran value here overall. So one second here. Good. So yeah, we're gonna see guys rise. We're gonna see guys fall for sure. Man, Jonathan Brooks, how sad that is, huh? What do you guys? Well, is Jonathan Brooks just done? Like, is he just absolutely done? Two ACL injuries on the same knee. Is he just done? I don't know. What are you guys doing with Jonathan Brooks? Are you cutting him? Are you trying to stash him on your team if you can? Like, depends on your roster size, right? Really does depend on your roster size. Yeah, into the so some of the quarterback positions here. I always talk about quarterbacks a little bit differently than I think other people. Like, I kind of see quarterbacks in this like giant bucket of players in terms of their production and kind of like what they're going to do and produce as. Jackson Dart, Caleb Williams, Baker, Bo Nix, Jordan Love, Darnold, Stroud, like these guys, man, they're just like, it's so hard to know year to year, week to week, who's going to be better than who. We all have our preferences and who we like and stuff like that. But I always look at this like giant bucket of players and just like, man, if I can tear down from one of these guys at the top to one of these guys in that, at the bottom of the tier, potentially getting some good players on top of it as well. As I'll add my brother in here.
Hey.
So, just kind of talking through some risers and fallers and stuff like that. I did also want to touch on potentially some of our leagues as well, our listener leagues, and what's going on there. But just kind of looking at the quarterback landscape right now. I don't know if it's really changed a whole lot, but I'm really curious, with Nix and Love and where these two players kind of go. I think they're slightly falling, and I would say they've kind of been disappointments this year, right? For the most part.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I don't even know where they're at exactly, but Love is QB 14 on the year, 18 overall, in points per game, and Nix is QB 10 in points per game. But I don't know, he looks a little off at times. So, just looking at Drake May all the way at QB 2. What do you think of that? Over Lamar, I think that's a little crazy in my opinion.
Yeah, it's bold for sure, but I don't know. You're getting so much younger, so I can see why people are kind of thinking that you can't really fault him. He's just playing really well with not a lot of talent around him too. So you kind of feels like, how can it get any worse? It can only get better.
Yeah, I think over Lamar is a little bit of a overreaction. I'm a big Drake May guy. He has kind of been down the last 3 weeks now. Drake May has 17.4 in week 9, 19.1 in week 10. And then yesterday's game, I don't think he broke 20 either. I did hear he hasn't even had a 300-yard passing game in his career. I thought that was a little surprising. 280 and 1 through the air, and then really nothing on the ground. So, 3 straight weeks where I don't think he hasn't broken 20 points. So that's something to take note of. Tet versus Addison, Mayfield versus Flacco.
That's got to be redraft, right?
Yeah, I think he's talking redraft for this week, I would assume. I think I'm Tetaroa.
Yeah, and Flacco.
And Flacco. Yeah, no worries, Darren. Am I Flacco?
I'm going to go Flacco.
Yeah. Who the Bucks? The Bucks are playing
Buffalo, I think.
Buffalo. Yeah, I'd probably go Flacco. It's close there, though. It's close.
Yeah, I wouldn't fault you for going Baker, but 2 out of his last 3 games were pretty disappointing. Not that I think he's on a downturn or anything. Potential shootout also. But Flacco's just been kind of consistently good, and plus he had a huge game against Pitt in week 7. So I think we kind of talked about this yesterday. So that's kind of the thought process there.
How much stock do you put in that in general? He did really well, 4 weeks ago or something. Obviously, against the same team.
Yeah, I mean that's the only reason why. He's been really good since he's been there, right? On Cincy, the last all 4 of his games have been really well. He's got the interceptions kind of under control. He had 2 before the bye, but none in the previous 3 before that. So I don't think it's like, oh, that's definitely like I'm going to be more worried about Flacco next weekend against New England.
Yeah. How many rush attempts do you think Baker has the last 3 weeks?
I just heard someone talking about this morning, so I know he doesn't have any, right?
Yeah, and I think he had like an oblique injury, leg injury, in the middle of October, and like I don't think he's been running since then. And I do think that affects his game a little bit. He had a good game last week, by the way, 3 touchdowns and threw for 270 yards. But I think that affects like just his overall performance. Him not being able to scramble around and stuff.
Yeah, I would and stuff. Yeah.
Any concerns with Tetaroa versus the Falcons secondary? Haven't been thrilled with JJ and the receivers. Yeah, I do think there's some concern there with the Falcons and their corners and stuff. I think they have a couple good ones there. AJ Terrell, who's blanking on his name. AJ Terrell in particular, who's kind of like one of those elite shutdown type of cornerbacks. I don't know how much he shadows, like off the top of my head. Tetaroa does feel like kind of a receiver that could get blanketed by someone relatively easy. Let's see here. What do we got? But I do think his matchup against some of the other corners will be good. So it depends. Hopefully they move him around a little bit. He is kind of limited by his quarterback. So it's just Addison I'm not super excited about. And I appreciate you, Darren, joining as a member. Appreciate you. You're a member here. I need to really figure out that there's things you can do for members and stuff like that. There are going to be stuff coming up. I've been really busy during the football season, but it's slowing down a little bit. So I'm going to start focusing on that and kind of do something special for just our members here. But yeah, I mean, it's also like Addison. Like I have, a lot of concerns about him. So I guess you could say the better matchup is Minnesota. Could be a potential shootout. So if you wanted to go Addison, I don't fault you there. But I think I'd lean Tetaroa. But yeah, I think it's more realistic of like who gets shut down kind of completely. Probably the Panthers in McMillan, if I had to guess. So yeah. I'm solid on Flacco off a bye as well. Yeah. Plus he might want to show out before Burrow comes back. Yeah. Yeah. It is kind of a coin flip.
Yeah. The matchups are on the opposite end of the spectrums too. Bills allowing the 4th least points to QBs. And I know, like you always say, like you got to kind of look at who they've played and stuff, but just looking at that, and Steelers are, in the bottom quarter of the league, basically. So that's not a bad tiebreaker.
Yeah, I mean both decisions are kind of coin flips as well. Bears are give up a lot of points to receivers. So, the more I think about it, I might actually lean Addison over Tetaroa. I think it's close enough to where in that situation, like I might just lean the better matchup here. So McMillan's playing the Falcons, like we talked about. They give up the 7th least amount of points, whereas the Bears give up like the 4th most. So I think I'm changing my mind now. I think it's Addison. But very close. Go with your gut there, for sure. Keenan says, did I win this trade? I just traded Woody Marks and JMO for Josh Jacobs. Yeah, for sure. Dynasty or redraft, I would say. He won that trade. So,
yeah.
I guess the only way. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to mention what we kind of talked about with Jameson yesterday when we were having start sit questions about him. I don't remember who the other players were, but it's like I kind of want to see one more week with Dan Campbell calling the plays and see if this is for reals, if he's really going to like work his way into like a very expanded role. So it could end up being a lot closer, but yeah, I mean, Josh Jacobs is no doubt about it starter. So
yeah. The only way I would say maybe you lose this is if you play an extremely deep league where you're starting 12, 13 players, or it's a 16 team league. But if it's a standard kind of start 7, 8, 10, or 12 team, like I think you get the absolute stud in Josh Jacobs, who's just been a stud for a long time. And he just scores a touchdown like every single game. He's kind of like a souped up Montgomery. Although I don't know if Montgomery's really that anymore, but kind of what Montgomery's been recently. Josh Jacobs, RB6 on the year, does not have a game under double-digit points. His worst game this year in PPR is 12.4 points. That's kind of crazy. I don't think any other running back can say that. I mean, just looking at the guys ahead of him, they've all had not. I guess Achan is the only other one. Even Jonathan Taylor had a game under 10 points. McCaffrey, Gibbs, Bijan. So, Mr. Consistent with a lot of upside too. So, yeah, you won that trade. Keenan, in kind of most formats there. But yeah, I was kind of talking about some potential like buy lows. I feel like Luther Burden, there's a very good chance like this is the lowest. He's wide receiver 34 according to Keep Trade Cut. Like that, he's like the lowest that this is the lowest that we're gonna see him be for a while. Like there's a chance. I think he could get going this last 6 weeks of the season or so, really pop off, and then he's going to become way more expensive. Yeah, I don't know what you think about that, or taking a shot on rookies like that, like a Luther Burden. I don't know really if there's anyone else that kind of falls in that boat. I mean, maybe like a Jaden Higgins or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Io Manor was kind of trending that way, right, for a little while there earlier in the season. Like, I know a lot of his hype has like kind of died down, but that's a lot of due to like the team that he's on and stuff. Like the production was never really there. Like it was kind of just like, oh, he's very involved kind of thing. Like he's getting on the field like right away, but I don't know. These guys are perfect trade pieces, I think, to rebuilding teams. Or if you're a rebuilding team, like you kind of want to grab a bunch of these guys at like who haven't done it yet. They're your lotto tickets,
Yeah, and I kind of said that, and even on the flip side, like if you're a competing team with some of these players, like they're the perfect trade chips as well to go out and get pieces to help you win. You want to be careful about like screwing your team over for the future, but if you're going to go out and win, you can trade a Luther Burden, a Jaden Higgins, an Io Manor, and stuff like that. Like kind of works both sides for sure. Both sides there. Parker Washington climbing up. Chimray DK, he looks good. DK. I expressed my concerns about Travis Hunter again. Just like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to kind of follow that for sure. Yeah, I mean, not much else in the. I was talking about these group of guys here: the T. Higgins, Waddle, Olave, Devonta Smith. Like all these guys have had significant increase in value and stuff like that. And again, these are just guys like we knew that were good, right? But they just had certain things about them, whether it was injuries or quarterback play or being wide receiver 2 on their team, like little things like that. But just know guys that we that have talent and stuff like that. So seeing them move up. Do you have a favorite in that group? Is it Waddle still?
Yeah, still Waddle. I really like what's happening with Devontae Smith. You know, he's outplaying AJ Brown, but they're still the Eagles are just like a hard one to like figure out. Like they're basically like he's like a guy you're starting every week. And just like hoping for the good game, you know, because you know it's in the realm of possibility, and it has been good. Good to like a few, maybe just one blowout game, but
yeah,
still. But yeah, it's Waddle. I mean, we don't know if Tyreek's coming back next year, if he's just gonna retire. You know, like who knows? Like it's a big, huge question mark.
Yeah. I think AJ Brown is going to be a easy buy low in the offseason. I mean, he's kind of plummeting in value here. Just kind of looking at where he was heading into this season as like a top 12 guy, most likely, top 15. He's falling, but like he's going to go to a new team, and that new team is potentially going to feed the hell out of him. I assume he's going to go to a contending team. Like, imagine him on Buffalo with Josh Allen.
Whew. Yeah.
Where's he shoot up to and keep trade cut? He signs with Buffalo in the offseason. I mean, he's going to be top 15 again just from that signing, potentially. You know? So.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. I talked about some running backs that I talked about Monangai as like a sell high to me. He's all the way up to RB26. And I get it, but also like we got to remember he's the 7th round pick. Like, I mean, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is kind of the perfect example of how quickly things could change. I think Krosky-Merritt got to a top 20 guy, and now, a month of bad performances, and he's back down pretty easily. Like, so Monangai would be someone I would potentially be selling on. What do you do? I also talked about Jonathan Brooks. What are you doing with Jonathan Brooks? I mean, it's like
I don't know
about him.
Yeah, for sure. He has been forgotten about, especially with Rico Dowdle. No, I know Dowdle's only on like a 1-year deal potentially, and they just paid Chuba. But yeah, I don't know. He's just luckily right now you can stash him in your IR, which is where he should be like all year, but I don't know. The multiple injuries in the same leg, the same injury, right? So it's just rough. Like you might just be a complete bust, but I don't know. Does he ever, 2 years from now, does he get the Javonte like resurgence? I mean, I guess it would, the big difference being he never did anything in the NFL. So it's just hard to know, I mean, if someone is offering you a 4th round pick for Jonathan Brooks, are you just taking it and getting out?
Nah, I'll probably just keep it.
Yeah, I probably would too.
Just
like whatever. Yeah. Just see.
Yeah, I mean, a 3rd, sure, but no one's going to do that,
Yeah. Well, I was initially going to ask you a 3rd, and then I was like, no, let me back it up a little.
Yeah, I just don't see anyone offering a 3rd, unfortunately. But I mean, still only 22 years old. So just what kind of condition is he in, I guess, is the big thing here. There was someone else that I was talking about before you. Oh, Kamara. I was also talking about Alvin Kamara. Like, obviously not been great this year, but it just feels like I wouldn't be shocked if like Kamara goes somewhere next year to like a contending team and has, he's 31 years old and has a decent season or something like that, would be shocking. Not that I'm necessarily like trying to buy low on Alvin Kamara or anything, but it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, he can play that, Jerick McKinnon, Austin Eckler role. Mm-hmm. Like we know he can do that. And that's kind of how he was making his hay, for a decent part of his career. Obviously, the rushing production's way down. It's not actually as bad as I was quite thinking it was, but it's definitely on the downslope, and the catching isn't really happening quite to the same degree, but it's not that far off. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Austin Eckler. Sorry, you were saying.
No, go ahead.
Now Eckler was a year young. Like Eckler was 29 last year. We're talking about Kamara being 31, so there's a difference there. But Eckler, in 2024, he missed he missed like 5 games last year. But his 17-game pace was like 1,000 total yards, 1,000 total yards and 50 catches and 6 touchdowns. Like that's startable in a lot of PPR leagues. So, can Kamara have like a season like that? We'll see. We will see. But yeah, just always pay attention to those veterans. They're all gonna fall. They're always gonna fall. Kyron was another one. It's just like, Kyron, he's moving down. He's RB14. Now he's probably more moving down because other people are moving up, right? But like the guy's been a top 10 running back each of the last 3 years. He's still 25 years old. He just got paid. Like he's on the Rams for the next several years, and he's probably going to continue to move down, right? Like, because I don't really see him doing much more than what he's already doing this year, which is again, top 10 running back, but just kind of watching out for those veteran players and trying to get value on them. Rocky says he's going up against a juggernaut of a team down 30 in projection. At wide receiver, Lockett, Jaden Higgins, Naylor, Mooney, Cup. Ugh. I can see why you're a 30-point underdog there. That's not great. So we have Tyler Lockett, Jaden Higgins. I mean, I'm probably going to do Lockett over Higgins. Naylor. I don't know if I want to chase it. Mooney. Potentially, I'd probably go. This is tough. I would say it's between like Mooney, Calvin Austin.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning Calvin Austin initially. Him and Mooney actually were the two that were kind of standing out. Like Austin, we haven't seen. What's that?
Yeah, we should probably answer it with who has the most upside, right? Because he's down or 30-point underdog.
Yeah, so it probably is Calvin Austin, honestly.
Yeah.
But that's not fucking easy. Just because, he definitely has like the big play ability and the quarterback that could get him the ball. Rodgers does seem to like him too. It just hasn't really turned into a whole lot. And he's got a choice matchup against Cincy, who we kind of talked about yesterday in regards to Metcalf, where they seem to be pretty bad against receivers, but they seem to kind of be pretty decent against the number 1 receiver on the team. So that could open things up for Austin.
Yeah. I just found out 2 weeks ago that Lockett was on the Raiders. So I guess it probably just happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think you're shooting for upside there. I think I go Lockett. Austin. Other guys are on waivers. Yeah, I mean, Lockett's probably like, weirdly enough, the safest. I mean, played in it. His first game where he actually played with the Raiders a significant amount. He gave you 5 for 40, 5 for 45. So, but if you're looking for upside, I think I would be chasing Calvin Austin, catching a couple bombs in a shootout. Really, it's Austin, Naylor, Mooney are all very similar type of players. But I think Austin's probably going to play the most out of those guys. So I think I would lead him. Maybe Naylor does. I don't know. But, yeah, I think it's Calvin Austin, but that's tough. That's a tough situation you're in there. I wanted to check in on Aronde Gadsden. Yep, tight end 6. And we kind of called that a couple weeks ago when we were talking Dynasty as well. Like, yep, he's going to continue to rise all the way up there. I don't hate it, I guess. I mean, I'd still take like Loveland over him. And I would still easily down tier from him, but yeah. Aronde Gadsden, man, all the way up there.
Are you trading him for Kittle straight up if you're a win now team?
No, because Gadsden's been producing more than Kittle, So I don't think I would. Weirdly enough, would you?
I think I would actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see like what's their difference in points going to be. I mean, maybe it's significant, but I mean, I think when it comes to that stuff, like I just tend to lean towards keeping that younger player. I think it's just for Dynasty in general, it makes more sense because like I think about them too, those two guys, and I'm like, I don't have a strong lean towards who's going to be better from this point on. And if either one of them is going to be significantly better than the other one. So I think I'll just lean like overall the more valuable asset, I mean, freaking Gadsden's going for like a first round pick,
Yeah, it definitely helps that he's going to play this week.
Yeah, I mean, someone offered me in a league Gadsden and DK for a first and a second. Like I think we saw it in our other league, and Idol traded a first. Joseph traded a first and something like it was a first and a Gadsden were like the main pieces of that trade. There's other pieces as well, but so yeah, I think I would just lean with Gadsden there. Not really too much else to talk about with the tight ends. I don't know. Just the normal kind of moving up and down type of stuff. Like, there's going to be some second year, third year guys that potentially you can buy low on. Elijah Arroyo comes to mind as a guy. He's going to continue to fall. Potentially buying low on him. Mason Taylor, potentially, if he falls. He's not really falling right now, but yeah, you're gonna have to be taken off here soon. Any thoughts overall on the Dynasty landscape?
No, I don't know. I'm just kind of like in a position in a few of my leagues where I'm like, what do I actually do? Like, you should have like a decent idea right now. Like, okay, obviously, if you're a lock for a playoff spot, like you're freaking stoked. But it's still a little early for that. We've seen it in a few of our leagues where it's like, okay, like it's pretty early. Like, I don't know. It's not impossible, but it's pretty hard to get locked up in a spot this early out. Or earlier, that's probably not going to happen. But now you're kind of jockeying for position to a certain degree. But you got to look at the other teams. You got to look at who you've played and who you haven't played and stuff like that, and kind of see, like in one of our Zeus listener league, I'm barely hanging on to the last playoff spot.
But you're 3 games up on 7th place.
Yeah, and so that's what I was going to say. So it's like I'm probably going to make it. Like I have a decent chance. There's 8 points left. I'm already +3, so it could be pretty bad. But look at who you're going to be playing to. Like, did you get a lot of cake matchups, or have you kind of like gotten through the guys who are above you? But also look at that point differential too. Like, I'm about 250 points behind the first place team, who is significantly like high scorer. That's Cass. So that's 25 points a week. Basically, he's up, because we've gone through 10. So that's pretty significant. So I'm kind of like in a solid, let me kind of reevaluate my team. Let me see if there's anything I can do to make it better without really selling the farm, I guess. But it's a little tough because I went a little light on younger players. So I don't know. It might just be another week of just kind of waiting and seeing what's happening. It's a decently big matchup for me in that league specifically too, but I don't know. It's just things that you should be looking at, look at who you have left on your schedule, see how far, have you just been getting lucky, or is it time to push some chips in?
Yeah, for sure. I'm just looking at Poseidon, our other listener league. It's really I guess it's I don't know. It's kind of I feel like 5 spots are basically locked up. Almost. You're in fifth place, but you're 5 points ahead of 7th place with 8 to go. That would be a pretty big collapse there. If you didn't make it.
I'll do it, man. I'll do it.
Yeah, it'll make it interesting though. Basically there's kind of 3 teams battling it out for 1 spot. Maybe you throw. I don't even know what the state of these teams are for some of them as well, but yeah, tough there. But no one's technically clinched yet. So Otten or Theo Johnson. I like Theo this week, but I'll go Otten.
Yeah, Otten.
I do like Theo this week though. With Jameis, I think Theo's a pretty good player. He plays a lot. He's kind of like Otten, really. They're good. They're good players, and they play a lot. And for that reason, they could have big games. But yeah, I'll go Kate Otten, a little bit more established. Am I starting Vidal or Quentin Johnston in my flex at Vidal? Kimani?
Yeah.
I think Vidal's a good start this week and overall. So yeah, I'm happy to start Vidal. Is Dawson Knox a good start? Got him off of waivers due to Laporta being injured. Yeah, did Laporta get thought I saw something that
Kincaid.
I know Kincaid got hurt, but he mentioned Laporta. I know Laporta was on the injury report too, right?
Oh, okay. I just thought maybe he mixed up. I get it. He has Laporta probably. And so he's picking up Knox this stream.
Yeah, 1 hour ago, Laporta's back injury will keep him out versus the Eagles. So I think Knox is a solid start this week. He's going to have that, the main role. He's playing Tampa Bay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know who else is on waivers that I would start over Knox. So I would probably say so with really knowing who's on waivers there. Looking for that's for Otten. You're talking about for Otten and Theo Johnson there, Rocky. Yeah, I think just go look at what Otten's been doing, and he's been playing really well. So, I mean, if you want I don't think it's close enough to have what's the tiebreaker? I guess the Bills are the best team against tight ends. I don't know who they've played off the top of my head, but they have given us the least amount of points.
It's not a whole lot. There's no real anyone you would consider a stud or even borderline must start guy. I mean, basically it was Andrews in week 1. However you feel about him, I don't think anyone's putting him in stud category anymore. It was Kelsey a couple weeks ago, but a lot of the other guys, Kyle Pitts and Hunter Henry in weeks 5 and 6, Juwan Johnson in week 4. Yeah. Like, I mean, there's guys there, but they haven't played. I don't know. They haven't played Indy. They haven't played Detroit. They haven't played the Bucks with Kate Otten. Not yet.
Yeah. I mean, basically, you're saying they haven't played McBride, Laporta, Bowers, and
yeah,
essentially.
Yeah, essentially. So it's kind of hard because one of those guys can really skew those averages,
Yeah. I'd say, like, without playing those guys, it's a pretty decent schedule, But yeah, I agree. Like, those guys can skew it a lot. And then who's the other one? The Giants, who are playing the Packers. Where are the Packers at? Packers are middle of the pack. Yeah, I go Kate Otten, but I mean, if you want to use that as a tiebreaker, I'm not going to freak out or anything. But again, do have to look at kind of who they're playing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like for tight end, it's the most important one to actually kind of look into that to see who they've played, because there's not a ton of like really elite ones,
I mean, Kelsey had 4 for 66 against them, which I think you'd be fine with if you got that. Like, if I told you you're getting 4, if you're getting 10.5 points there, Rocky, you're probably taking that in PPR. Who else did we say they played? Juwan Johnson didn't do much against them. Hunter Henry's played him twice, right? 2 for 46. No, just once. 2 for 46. Just trying to see if any of those like decent tight ends did anything. Against them, because like you do have a couple like Mason Taylor in week 2, the Dolphins that was I think before Waller. The Panthers, like a couple of goose eggs potentially there that can weigh it down as well. But yeah, they've kind of shut down basically everyone except for Kelsey. So we will get out on this. Just wondering what side you guys like. Trade went down yesterday. McBride, Brees, and Dobbs for Gibbs and Flowers. McBride, Brees, and Dobbs for Gibbs and Flowers. I'd probably go Gibbs and Flowers.
Yeah, I think I'll take that too.
So I was a little bit surprised looking at Zay Flowers is one of those players like I never have. I just feel like he goes a little bit too early in redraft for my liking. Don't have him in Dynasty. But looking at his numbers, like, oh yeah, he's actually been really good. He just needs to catch a couple touchdowns here and there. And then obviously Gibbs is, top 5, top 10, top 5, top 10 fantasy asset this year, rest of the year. So yeah, it's not that far off though. I mean, I don't mind either side. It could be what your team needs. If you needed a tight end and if you needed a tight end, maybe you're fine with that. So, all right. Well, we will be back tomorrow morning before the college slate, or I guess as it's kicking off or whatever. But join us tomorrow for any start-sit stuff. And I think the league thought it was fair. Majority on the Gibbs side, yeah. I mean, when you have someone like Gibbs in a trade, that's just going to weigh it down a lot, and how good Jahmyr Gibbs is and can be. Like, I feel like we haven't even really seen, like last week he was awesome, but like he did that last year, like the last 5 games of the year, like he's capable of that. So, but yeah, appreciate you guys. And we will see you guys all tomorrow.
Bye.